Well, good evening. I'm Mindy McCarty-Stewart. I'm the superintendent here at Kettering City Schools, and want to thank you for taking your time out of your busy schedules to spend with us, just to become more familiar with some really important projects going on in our districts connected to our priority around us in our strategic plan around facilities. In front of you really is the best visual to kind of describe where we're at and why where we are in terms of providing a comprehensive plan and a sustainable plan that's for generations to come. We have significantly aging buildings. When we look at this too, we want to make sure we pause and honor the community and the long-standing history of the support of our community who built these buildings that have allowed us to sustain from 60 to 77 years. And as you can also recognize in there was some really fast, rapid building and growth of this district. And so I'm sure things were busy and hopping during that time period. And now we also have the responsibility of maintaining those aging buildings that are significantly around the same time. So it's a great visual to really kind of describe a lot of the information that we plan to share with you this evening. So typically what we've been doing in our community forums is we've been focusing in our future ready facilities master plan. On this slide is the kind of the second item there. However, there are several really important key things that are happening in our district that provide some really great opportunity for the future of Kettering City Schools. They are connected in terms of facilities, but they're also very independent of each other. We want to make sure that we give some time this evening to walk you through each one of those. And at this time, what better way to do that is then having the voice of our Board of Education. I'd like to introduce Board President Mark Martin.
Thank you, Mindy. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us here this evening to take a tour of one of our facilities, which is here at KMS. And ultimately, we have on the screen here for you, and I wanted to share, I'm here, Board President Mark Martin, and I'm here with Jennifer Kane and Bill Lauder. They are fellow board members of mine as well. And ultimately, we as a board have challenged Mindy to look out across the district and see what needs to happen? What future do we need for the district? What's working, what's not working? In our education, the classroom, things are working. Our scores are going up. Our staff is growing. We have a vibrant staff. So as far as educating kids, things are dynamic, in my opinion. As far as our staff, things are dynamic, in my opinion. And of course, we're always stretching and challenging them to be better. But we have 3 projects that ultimately go with our core mission. And I'm going to read to you a little bit, and my goal here is not to preach to you, to lecture you or anything of that nature, but to really just share from our vantage point why we have embarked on this journey. And at the last part, we want to have guarantee a superior educational experience for all students by providing a positive and innovative learning environment while responsibly utilizing resources. And if you touch on some key words there, innovative environment. Responsibly utilizing our resources. If you look at our facilities, you've gone on some of our forums and you see Van Buren, which is the oldest facility in our district, they're aged. They are not innovating. It does not create a space in which our students and our staff can really thrive and push and challenge each other and our staff, our students, in a manner in which they need to. Our staff have done a phenomenal job utilizing the resources that we have, but it's time for us to invest in the future to set the stage for Kettering to be that shining beacon on the hill, in our opinion. We're at a crossroads between Dayton as you go south towards Centerville, Springboro, Lebanon. We don't want everyone to bypass Kettering because our buildings are aging and the districts around us are taking advantage of the tax dollars that the state is willing to co-fund. So, Jeff and the other staff members are going to do some presentations as we go forward. I don't want to steal their thunder, but ultimately, if you think of one thing in particular that I want you to take away from this is what future? The question I have for you is what future do we want for the district? How do we want the district to look? how do we want the district to function? And if you look at these facilities and the technology and advancements that happen around the nation, especially in the state of Ohio, we have to change with the times. We have to improve. I've had people ask me, well, you found money for the Barnes situation. You found revenue to help that be a budget neutral situation. We didn't find Barnes. We had the building, but we didn't find the relationship. They found us. They came to us with a proposal because our goal was to demo that building because that's responsibly utilizing our resources. So it's a partnership that we believe in, partnership with the city and Chivas Foundation, that will be a vibrant space. And with that, we can responsibly utilize our resources by having district offices that are net zero other than operating expenses for our district and for our staff and the leadership team. We talk about the merger as a unification of the middle schools. That's something that needs to happen regardless of the Future Ready endeavor, because it's 41%. If you combine both of those schools, we are 41% over the recommended capacity by the Ohio, what's the commission? Facilities Construction. Thank you. The Ohio OFCC. Thank you. So ultimately, by merging or unifying these schools, we will still have excess capacity to meet the district's needs for students and staff. And then finally, the Future Ready. When you look at our campuses across the city, we have more buildings than what we need to facilitate the education practices and our staff that we need. So this isn't something that we are jumping into haphazardly, but it comes down to the state is willing to collaborate and share in the cost burden with us. And if we don't take advantage of this, which I feel not to present this forward to the community would be irresponsible, and we would be negligent in our duties to be good shepherds and stewards of the Kettering City School District. The state is saying they will fund 42%. Is that the right number? 43% of the total bill. So I'll put this in terms of, from a perspective of infrastructure. If you think about our chillers, boilers, and other attributes, I shared this last night in our board meeting, to lay new chillers, boilers, and do some of the electrical work within some of our facilities, you're talking in excess of $180 million. You look at that, and that's nearly half of the total sum of the Future Ready endeavors that we're looking for. By shrinking the number of buildings that we have, we can now share resource officers between the buildings that will be remaining. So I know people are questioning, why now? If not now, when? And if not us, who? Because 77 years and counting, this doesn't turn around and doesn't get any better for any of our students, and especially for our city. So I just wanted to spend some time and I'll be a part of the panel to answer questions, but as a board, we didn't come at this haphazardly. We challenged many years ago to look at what needs to happen. And when we embarked on the OFCC endeavor, the audit that they performed, that was the catalyst to understand what's happening and what do we need to do for our buildings. And they did an assessment, fair assessment, impartial, and they gave us the data to then act. So once we had that data, it is our due diligence, it's our responsibility to act in that regard. So with Mindy's support and the rest of the administrative staff, that's what we're doing here, and that's what we're asking for our community, our citizens, to get behind this and look at what's happening. Don't just take our word for it. When you walk these buildings, take a look, do the audit, do the self-assessment yourself, and ask yourself, is this the future that we want for our students and our staff? So I thank you all for the time. I look forward to further dialogue and seeing you all go on the tour. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. So a little bit of the cadence and agenda. So we're going to share some detailed information. We're going to try to really succinctly summarize that for you, because you really will gain some insight by the tour, and then we'll come back for Q&A. So on the screen in front of you are our commitments to our community. This is what I've been sharing with our parents in the forum and our staff as we talked about the middle school merger. We do recognize that it certainly is emotional. It's a very emotional decision. So we want to work and honor those emotions and make sure that we implement this plan with fidelity, always keeping the well-being of our staff, our students, and families at the forefront. So we know it's going to be important to actively listen to those concerns and mitigate that transition fatigue, coordinate clear communication with deliverable timelines throughout that process, establish working teams that include a variety of stakeholders to proactively address all the concerns and challenges that come up with the merger, develop some activities that really embrace and continue to build the strength of our community and a positive culture. Honor that vibrant history and well-established traditions of our school. I added too, because we heard that this through a lot of the Q&A, that this is really important, so it's in here. Our commitment is maintaining those average class sizes, vibrant course offerings, and high-quality support and services. And that, again, our commitment is no employee through the merger will lose their job as a result of that. These commitments not only are really about the middle school merger, they are about the entire facility plan, as anytime we have to transition and go through changes. So as Mark has mentioned, there's some critical needs in the OFC assessment, which you'll hear from Mike Richley a little bit more here. But you saw in the beginning screen, Van Buren Middle School is our oldest building at 77 years old. So even that 10 years makes a difference. You'll see needs as you walk around Kettering Middle School, but we know we really needed to address some of the critical needs at Van Buren. And moving forward out of the school year, there are, we would need to invest primarily in a new roof to keep it warm, safe, and dry, and then some major structural repairs to support a new roof. So that would be an investment that we would have to figure out how to fund, about a $2.9 million investment to continue moving forward to occupy Van Buren. So with the OFCC assessment, and with this information, it became very vital at that point to do that. If we spend $2.9 million, we have to make, as our treasurer, would have to work with the district to make some important decisions about what we have to forego in order to make that happen. And then merging the Van Buren Middle School, some yearly cost savings when we can merge. Becomes about an operational yearly expenses, close to $1 million in those operational cost savings. And so if we are able to build a brand new middle school, which is the plan and the goal of the facility project, it will take us about 5+ years before we will be able to occupy that with our grades 6 through 8. So that yearly savings over that course of time is another potential savings of almost $5 million. And to talk a little bit more about being better together, I would like to invite to the podium your Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning, Dan Von Handorf.
Thanks, Mindy. I think for a lot of folks, particularly at Van Buren and Kettering Middle School, the announcement of merging middle schools was kind of a surprise, shocking to you. And I know there are a lot of emotions associated with that. I'm a good example of that because not only am I assistant superintendent here for Kettering City Schools, but I'm also the parent of a 7th grader who goes to Van Buren. And so coming home and having that conversation with my daughter was probably similar to some of the parents out there, conversations that you had with your kids. So Mindy talked a little bit about the money of the middle school merger. Another really important part of that is making sure we make decisions on what is best for kids. And having been in Van Buren Middle School, 3 of my kids went through there and are at the high school or in college, and 1 currently there. I can say without a shadow of a doubt that all of our kids in middle school are better off together in one school. And so my daughter, like many of our other kids, will be coming over from Van Buren here on this campus next year in middle school. And I know that she's going to be better off for that. All of our kids are going to be better off for that together. Mindy talked about a few things like better programming. So all of our kids and all of our teachers under one roof, we're going to be able to offer better programming for our kids. Our teachers are going to benefit because they'll have the added expertise. And I'll tell you, Van Buren, that is a special place, but it's not because of the building. It's because of the people inside of that building. Kettering Middle School is a special place, and it's not because of this building. It's because of the people inside of that building. When we get our staff and our kids working together, we truly are going to be better together here on this campus next year. We know transition is tough, and so we have been working, and will continue to work on how to best meet the needs of our kids and our families through this transition. So some things on the screen that we're working on. Number one, we're not merging Van Buren Middle School into Kettering Middle School. We are creating a new school together. Part of that is going to be working with our kids, our staff, our families to rename this new middle school together. Other things that we know kids are going to need in the transition, they're going to need activities to make them feel comfortable here all together under one roof. And so we have a committee that is currently working on activities for our kids to make sure when they start school next year, they're going to be excited and comfortable in this new space. Another group of folks that we've already met with and talked to is our staff. When we met with Van Buren Middle School staff and Kettering Middle School staff, they all expressed a desire to have some activities to get to know each other better. Even though they're all Kettering City Schools employees, a lot of them don't know each other and haven't worked together. And so we're going to work on activities to make sure our staff is excited and truly better together. And then the last big piece of that are our families. Now, it's kind of weird because they're all going to be together at Fairmont High School in 9th grade, but they don't all know each other in middle school yet. And so we're going to have activities to make sure all of our families feel comfortable here on the Glengarry campus for middle school next year. And so those are things that we're already planning. We know families need, kids need, our staff needs, and so we've made that commitment to make sure that we're working together to truly make this middle school better when they're all together. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mike Richley. He is going to talk a little bit about the Future Ready Facilities Plan.
Thank you very much. My name is Mike Richley, and if I can self-indulge for a second, I did grow up in Kettering. I went to Oakview, went to Southdale, went to Van Buren, graduated from Fairmont, went on to become an architect and specialize in K-12 schools. So it truly is an honor of my professional career to help come back and revision the future of Kettering City Schools. So I'm going to share an overview of the 10-year master plan. The goal of this master plan is to provide modern, efficient, future-ready schools, all grade levels, all buildings. This is a consolidation plan where we'll right-size the district from your 12 existing school buildings to 7 buildings in the future. And the key that really unlocks the scale and the magnitude of this vision is that Kettering qualifies for funding from the state of Ohio that makes this possible. We're going to kick off with segment 1, which you'll be voting on in May. Segment 1 prioritizes the district's most immediate needs, and that is the 6-8 middle school band. This will build a new middle school at Fairmont, which will address the aging nature of Van Buren. It'll also address the oversized square footage that's in Kettering Middle School. This first plan also takes the academic areas of Fairmont High School, circa 1950s, and updates them to 2030s. Additionally, because the elementary schools will be used for another 10 years, segment 1 includes dollars to make sure all the existing elementary schools remain warm, safe, and dry until they're addressed in segment 2. Segment 1 will be 100% locally funded, but we'll be banking credits during this to apply to Segment 2. In approximately 5 years, Segment 2 will roll around, and Segment 2 will address your elementary schools. Currently, you have 9 elementary schools, and we're envisioning 5 elementary schools in Segment 2, so consolidating from 9 to 5. 4 of them will be new, and one of them, the district's newest building, Greenmont, which is just a quarter of a century old, at 25 years old, will be incorporated in the plan as a renovation. Segment 2 is where the state's funding kicks in. And so while there will be a local component of Segment 2, the majority of Segment 2 will be funded by the state. So to kind of wrap it all together, Segment 1 will cost $222 million locally. Segment 2 will cost an additional $100 million locally, but $160 million will be brought to the table from the state. So all in all, the district share would be approximately $320 million of the total master plan, and the state share $160 million for the combined total of $480 million district-wide 10-year vision. Next, I'm going to show some graphics to show you a vision for what Segment 1 could look like. This is an aerial of Fairmont High School, and the blue areas that are shown on the plan are the existing good portions of Fairmont that we intend to keep. Trent Arena, there's a recent career tech addition, the brand new auditorium, the performing arts spaces, and the new career tech building. All those would be incorporated in the future 10-year plan. Our first step would be to build a new multi-story middle school. That's currently sitting on where currently the baseball and softball fields sit. What unlocks the possibility of this is for the first time the campus will have a front door on Far Hills with vehicular access in multiple locations off of Far Hills. Where this red or pink area is where we envision the new academic core of the high school to be. So that sits on what's currently East Unit, Central Unit, and West Unit. And our plan would be to take those, stack them vertically 3 stories, rotate them 90 degrees, and pull them up against the rest of the high school. We have a couple diagrams trying to answer some of the major questions about how big and how could this work. And this first one is a diagram showing our proposed high school arrival and dismissal strategy. Currently, we're aware that the high school has issues with congestion, primarily around Schroyer Road and Lincoln Park. And that's because today, really the only drop-off pickup point is where this red star is. In this future plan, we would have arrival and dismissal pickup at a new entry off of the new entry to the administrative area and the academic core of the addition. Additionally, high school arrival and pickup could happen directly off of Far Hills. Thank you very much. By pulling in, swinging around, dropping off at this red star, and then the students could walk straight into the high school. Additionally, this star is a drop-off point at the athletic area. So if you count up all those stars, that's at least tripling the amount of arrival and dismissal pickup for the high school. Another key of making this work, when you look at the middle school arrival and dismissal, is just recognizing that these are separated by over an hour. High school happens first, and about an hour later, the middle school happens. So these are not consecutive, but concurrent, one after the other. For the middle school arrival and dismissal, again, using Far Hills from Blue Gate Circle, parents come in, drop at the red star, and loop back out. Parents coming from the north side of Schroyer can pull in for a very long stacking length, drop off at the red star into the middle school and out, as well as middle school drop off could happen here at this red star and students could walk in. Another key point in this plan is bus loading and unloading. Currently, buses come off to the north and are in this location. Our plan for both middle school and high school buses is to provide a new bus lane off of Winding Way that comes to a centralized bus drop-off and pickup, and then this shared pedestrian plaza that will allow middle school students to go to the middle school and high school students to go to the high school. So we've effectively separated staff parking, parent drop-off and pickup, bus loading and unloading from both plans. So that is my summary.
Good evening. I'm Treasurer Justin Blevins, and on this slide, what you're looking at on the left-hand side is the breakdown between the OFCC contribution and what the local share cost would be for us to engage with the OFCC for the entire $480 million project, which is segments 1 and segment 2. On the right-hand side of the screen shows what we've estimated the cost would be if we were to go into our existing buildings and perform the necessary maintenance projects to bring them up to date. So you can see that it would cost us $350 million locally versus $321 million if we partner with the state. This project has been broken down into 2 segments. Segment 1 is $222 million. And we are currently toward the latter stages of the bond process. So the board has passed 2 resolutions that were then certified by the county auditor. We had estimated a millage rate of 5.99 mils that actually came back to be 5.93 mils. That information has since been certified with the Board of Elections and will go on to the May ballot. And here you can also see the cost breakdown. So for a $100,000 home, the cost for segment 1 would be $17.30 a month. So as I mentioned, segment 1 is $222 million at a 5.93 millage rate. Segment 2 has currently been estimated to be $99 million. And there was a 2002 bond that was passed that we've since been paying on. And it looks like the timing of when the 2002 bond will be paid off will match up to when we would look to get proceeds for segment 2 of this project. And there's an opportunity there for the second ask to be a no tax increase ask to community members. So what's happening is as we pay off portions of the principal and interest of the existing 2002 bond, segments of the millage rate, it's decreasing at different times, as you can see in the table there. So the 2002 bond is fully paid off at the end of 2031, and then at that point, well, we estimate that the cost savings would be approximately 2.67 mils, which would cover segment 2 of this project. And now I'm going to introduce Business Services Director, Mr. Jeff Johnson.
Thank you, Justin. Want to shift gears a little bit and talk about the Barnes building project. This is a separate project from everything, so just wanted to address some questions about the Barnes building project and clarify that this initiative is completely separate from our long-term future ready facilities plan, which involves the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission. This innovative collaboration centered around preserving a historic community landmark did not originate with the school district actively seeking it out. Instead, we were approached by dedicated partners who saw the opportunity to revitalize a building. We want to emphasize that this project is funded entirely through this partnership and requires absolutely zero tax dollars from the Kettering community. This unique project is an innovative and collaborative bringing together Kettering City Schools, the Shevitz Foundation, City of Kettering, and Cohatch to create a lasting benefit for our community and the broader Miami Valley. The arrangement involves a split of the building involving Kettering City Schools will occupy half the building for its central administrative offices, while Cohatch will occupy the other half to establish a modern co-working and innovative space. This unique collaboration will not only save an iconic landmark, but also a creative and vibrant, sustainable, economic, and educational hub for years to come. We are very fortunate and excited that the Shevitz Foundation approached Kettering City Schools, and we look forward to this innovative project to begin very soon. Okay, I would like to bring back up Mr. Dan Von Antwerp.
Thanks, Jeff. It's exciting to dream about what could be here in Kettering. I'm going to talk to you very quickly about two positive impacts that this Future Ready Facilities Master Plan will have on all of us in the community, and then a little bit more in depth about the third. We saw cost savings. So we spend a lot of our money now in fixing old buildings. With new buildings, new design buildings, we could spend that general fund money on student programming, on opportunities for kids. Another important positive impact is consistent and balanced class sizes for all of our kids. By consolidating schools from a large number down to a small, we're able to have consistent class sizes in all of our buildings to efficiently use our teachers and our resources. But what I want to talk to you more about is educational opportunities for our kids. Throughout this process, we've been able to see school districts from all around Ohio and see what facilities they have compared to what facilities we have. Their teachers have opportunities to teach the way they want to teach concepts to kids. And kids feel like they're in a safe, exciting learning environment, something that was designed for 21st century learning. You saw the very first slide that we showed you tonight was the age of our buildings. So if you can, think back to the 1960s or 1950s or 1940s about what education looked like back then. Honestly, I can't think back that far because I was born in 1974. And I'm pretty old. But I was not born when a vast majority of our buildings were built. Education back then, there were no cell phones, there were no computers, there was no digital technology. But that's the way our kids are learning and our teachers are teaching now. The educational opportunities, the tools that our teachers could be using that are barriers for them now are because of our facilities. I want to show you just a couple examples of neighboring communities and the opportunities that their kids have and their teachers have that we don't have. So I'm not talking about Cleveland or Columbus or Cincinnati. I'm talking about West Carrollton and Fairborn. Both of those districts recently passed OFCC funded projects. So they took that money from the state and built new facilities in their communities. The top left there is elementary school in West Carrollton. So as you tour the building today, know that all of our classrooms are about the same size. Some of our specialized programming for students have significantly less students in them than those classrooms were designed for. So when you hear the terms right size to meet the needs of teachers and students, if you have a small classroom instruction environment, you need a classroom designed for small classroom instruction. So these students at West Carrollton are getting intervention, small group instruction, to help them learn and grow and catch their peers. The top right, again, at West Carrollton, that's at West Carrollton Primary School. Their media centers are designed for 21st century learning. And what does that mean? They have different areas where students can learn in different ways. And so in what we used to call library, now our media centers, they have a lot of digital technology, a lot of opportunities for kids to use digital tools to learn that our schools just were not designed for. On the middle right there, Fairborn High School, that is their new high school learning hub and commons area. And so you can see there are students up there working and collaborating. They're able to have multiple classrooms of students together, multiple teachers together, collaborating and learning together in a common area. You will not see that here in Kettering City Schools. The bottom right, something that warms my heart as a former chemistry teacher, their science labs are pretty amazing. And I want to point out some specific things in this science lab. They have different areas with different learning tools and opportunities that we just don't have in Kettering City Schools. Our science labs, when you have students in science labs, you have 24 kids that are elbow to elbow trying to do lab because there's only space for students to stand. There is not space for different technology, like that is a table where students can look at anatomy and look at how the nervous system works. They can do a lot of really neat things as a science teacher I would love to do, but they're designated learning spaces for students at Fairborn High School. Our students don't have those opportunities. And then the last picture there, you're gonna see the cafeteria here. This is the cafeteria at Fairborn High School. And you can see different seating options. You can see noise panels there. If you look closely in there, they have a great number of different point of sale where they can offer different opportunities for students to eat different things rather than going through one line and all getting very similar things to eat for lunch. And so these are just some examples within 10 miles of us that students and teachers are able to learn in by using those OFCC dollars to create new spaces. So as you go around the building tonight, I would encourage you to look at classroom size. Were they designed specifically for different purposes? Look at the cafeteria. Is it designed, does it look like that? Are there opportunities for kids like Fairborn kids have? When you go in classrooms, are they designed specifically for learning? And are there common areas or learning hubs where classes can come together, teachers can come together and work together as teacher teams to help best with instruction? If you're not familiar with Kettering Middle School, let me give you a very quick tour of what the campus looks like. Right now, you are in the admin building, which is right here. On your tour, depending on what tour group, you're gonna see the admin building. We're gonna go into the central unit 6th grade building. So one of the misconceptions of Van Buren Middle School versus Kettering Middle School, for a majority of the day, students stay in their grade level building. So instead of Van Buren has about 650 students in the building, for Kettering Middle School students, they stay in that building a majority of their day. It actually feels smaller than Van Buren, where all students are walking all over the building. So we're gonna go to the 6th grade building. We're gonna go into what used to be the Industrial Arts building. It has specialized programming now here at Kettering Middle School. We're actually gonna walk, I think, around the gym because there's a basketball scrimmage going on right now in the gym. So we're probably gonna stay away from the gym, but we'll walk by the gym into the 7th grade building, 7th grade unit. We're gonna walk into the cafeteria, then into the 8th grade building, and then we'll come back and we'll meet back up here in our administrative building at the end of the tour.
Okay, so this is, I call it the 19. If you're kind of looking around the room, you'll see that there's some like storage. We have our bookshelves. Some of them are a little bit different, but they all have supply rooms. There's a kiln room right over here. You could see it says ceramics on the door. So that's where the kiln is housed and all of its lovely tech. There's also a sink in there. There's a sink in the back corner as well. That's all that's kind of in the space as far as cleanup goes. And if you look around, every nook and cranny is kind of utilized for storage in some way. with more open spaces in the center for students. We try to make sure that the students have that ability to kind of be within the space and have some flexibility. Right now, a lot of the elective courses can range in size from, I think right now I have a class of 15 students, all the way to 30. So we got to make sure that we have enough space for them to be and work, but also to house their projects and various other things like that. So like everywhere is used, okay? And we also try to make it as creative as a space as we possibly can. Hence all the decor and art and just examples all around the room. Any questions?
Do you have any trouble with like the windows leaking or any of the HVAC?
So there have been occasions. So I'm housed in South Unit typically, but all the 19s typically struggle with the same issues.
Okay.
So the HVAC in this room is actually separate from the rest of the unit. So we do have to be aware of the temperature in the space and make sure that the thermostat is running. So not to say that it's bad, but there are occasions we just have to be aware. As far as the windows, typically no, there's never been an issue. There was one broken in mine a long time ago, and it got fixed. Occasionally, so if you can see the projector here. So in my space, it's the same setup, like the projector's on this side of the room, but because of where South Unit is, during the day, that is all sunshine. So there have been multiple attempts over the year to frost the windows. It doesn't stay, so it gets refrosted and refrosted. So that's really the only like thing, or I guess little tweak that's kind of, natural light is wonderful. Probably not directly on the tech device we're trying to use. I'd maybe save some extra sinks would be great too. Yeah. And effective storage. Shelving, maybe on the cabinets and stuff. Because as you can see, art teachers are natural hoarders. We want to make sure our kids have access to whatever they need to get their projects done, but also create something that they're proud of.
Are those built in?
These are built in, yes. Not all of the 19s have these. Okay. Mine has one, but North Unit does have almost the same amount. I think one less. Yeah.
Could you share with us what you do with this?
I'm going to be honest with you. It pretty much is just for announcements.
Okay.
So morning announcements are done on video. They used to show, like, what was it, Channel 1 News, I think, on it as well. In my space, the TV's gone, but the VCR has remained so that I can hook the VCR into the projector so that I can watch those things, the announcements and stuff on the projector instead.
So just to like chime in too when we talk about new facilities, because obviously there are two questions that we're addressing with some of the things that were discussed tonight. The first, are kids warm, safe, and dry? That was the decision to do the merger. But the next step is like, what type of future do we want for our students? The communication as the principal, when there's something that needs to go around the PA system, or we're calling students down for pictures, or even trying to do morning announcements so that everyone has access to the same information. It's 7 different buildings that needs to get that information. If the secretary in this office, we still have the little button that you like push and hold the thing, and it only speaks to this unit and it doesn't speak to the other units. There were several teachers who were like, I never watch morning announcements. My kids don't get to see that because my VCR TV works. So we started streaming with a live Google link, and teachers tune in on their smart boards, which is a creative way to get around it. But also, we have so many limitations. We want 21st century learning, 21st century, like innovative. Even the students who help with morning announcements want access to, like, they're like, can we get a green screen? Can we get this? And we've got like a sheet up, and we make it work. We make it work. But there's so many different things that I think, especially our students who are interested in interactive media and they're good at doing those things, they deserve something better than that.
And I teach the digital art here at KMS, so I have all of the digital art classes. So it's really important, one, to have spaces where they can actually plug in and just charge. We use our Chromebooks every day, and then we also go to iPads. So it's really important that we have that ability to not only just run it on the Wi-Fi, but be able to actually charge it and use it and just have it every day for them to utilize, because that's what they want to utilize. But it'd be great if we could have, instead of the felt green sheet that I pull out every once in a while, we actually can have like a green screen or something like that, so they can truly do different animations, stop motions, things like that, and really advance what we're already doing.
How is the Wi-Fi in the buildings?
Every room has its own sort of hub. So if you were to talk to the IT person, who is not me, you can go between classes and actually see whose room.
Okay.
So the Chromebooks automatically adjust based on which room they go to. And then IT, the above that I don't know of, they will adjust bandwidth and stuff accordingly based on needs.
But this is exactly the size of a typical room that teachers would teach in.
Do you know what the size is for this room?
This feels like 700 square feet to us.
Way smaller than the new building.
He is
About six, like somewhere
the
between 6 and
architect.
700.
You're good. Okay, hello. This isn't my classroom, but I'm going to kind of talk about this room. I'll talk about my room a little to kind of compare them, because we all have kind of similar rooms, but some things are a little bit different. I like this classroom. I like the covers on the lights, but I don't have that.
Get headaches from these forms.
Yes, so it'd be nice to have dimmable lights maybe, or, being able to have more options, because my room I can only turn off the front or the back. I try to turn off the front, but then the lights are on the kids. If I turn off the back, then they can't see the board very well. There's a lot of windows, which is awesome when there is natural light, but when it's cloudy, it doesn't really help me out. I like that there's, the tables back here, work with small group. I don't have that option in my room though, because I only have these desks, and it's kind of hard to move them around, because if I have 25 kids in a room, it's a little tight. Because even here, I'm sure you guys feel like you're standing close together. I also, don't have a lot of outlets. I try to bring in my own lighting too. But if the kids need to charge their Chromebooks, sometimes they have to sit on the floor. I do have lap desks that I brought in myself. But I do feel bad making them sit on the floor, because I don't really have a spot for them to charge their Chromebooks. And they're required to use Chromebooks for some things. I try not to use it all the time, but sometimes I gotta. My room specifically has a really nice, projector and smart board, but I know not all of the rooms have that. And even in my room, some of the seats, the kids can't see the board very well. So it's like I'm trying to shuffle the kids around, like, oh, you sit in the front while we're taking notes, but then move back, because this kid needs to be near me. And,
Would the new heating unit be smaller?
And that's one of our quieter units.
Yeah.
Just the size. I mean, I have radiators in my office at work, but that's huge.
Yeah.
That's so much wasted space.
Yeah, I know. It would be nice to be able to, shrink it a little. And I have a TV hanging in my room off the wall, and it just makes noise all the time. It'll just be buzzing while I'm trying to teach.
It's likely in the new building that you wouldn't have this. It'd be an air system
Okay, so it'd
distributed
just be
from the
from
ceiling.
the top.
Okay, perfect.
So you actually, every room would gain, that's a decent amount of space to gain
Oh, for sure.
storage.
And in some rooms, it's in the back of the room, and the students who are sitting in the back will say,
Oh, they can't hear
I
it.
can't hear the teacher. Yep. And so they'll ask to move up, and it's like, well,
I don't
there's
have a
only
lot
so
of-
many people
yeah.
who can be up. And then again, just also like even the style of the desk. Think about when these buildings were built in the 60s, in the 70s. It was a lot of lecture, the teacher talking. You just sit at your desk with your trapper keeper and do your
Yeah.
thing. And the way we're trying to teach now to students is a lot more collaborative, innovative activities, hands-on. I do, you do, we do, like collaborative.
Is it more group work?
We try.
I try, but
Yeah,
it's hard
Then
to.
you're like, come at your desk,
Yeah.
here's your partner, and it is limiting. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I like to give option. I let kids work by themselves if they want to, because I was introverted as a child. I don't, sometimes I make them though, but I say you can be,
So the fluorescent lighting isn't that efficient, right? Because LED is more efficient.
LED is
I guess
what-
that's
Yeah,
the
okay.
question.
The LED
Okay.
is what we're doing in new build.
Okay. I like to think of maybe having like desks where the chairs aren't attached so that you can really move them around more because teenagers grow a lot and these are kind of tight for some of the kids or for these ones.
With a backpack, because they have to put because my kids
Yeah.
have everything in their backpack.
Yeah, and you notice there's
And
no
a winter
place to
coat.
put backpacks here.
No.
Other than under
Yeah, I definitely trip over book bag strings all day, every day.
Oh, and then you're like,
Yeah.
sorry, my butt.
But then, yeah. Yeah, but also,
Wouldn't even fit in
yeah,
there.
the desks move so much that it's like, I'm like, sorry, can you move your desk
And
over
our
so I can walk
custodians,
by?
I will say we've been excellent stewards over what we have though, and they've kept up these buildings really well. But you'll see they take such good care of the floors. The tennis balls are just because the desks are moving so much and make so much noise, and they care about the floors. And but it is hard. It's a tight space. For
Yeah,
sure.
for
So,
sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Mentioned this is our unified arts building, so it houses our community-based program, our post, again, which is program of structured teaching. This room is for adaptive physical education, so instead of taking gym where all of our typical students are taking, students will have gym in here 1 day a week. So this space that you see, this large space with all of these side rooms, there's some sensory rooms, there's a small gym back there, is used 1 day a week. Generally for 40 minutes total, as much time as they can get out of students. The rest of the time it sits empty. So again, it's an example of one of those large spaces that's being heated and cooled, and really it does not get much use outside of that 1 day a week on Mondays when we have APE in here. They do have a TV though, so that's great. We're not staying in here. I just kind of want to show you guys all of our special programs are capped. So this classroom, there are 6 students in this class. And most of the classrooms that are in this hallway, I was just showing them the size of a classroom. None of them hold more than 10 at a time. And all of the classrooms are this size. Some teachers say they miss having all 3 grade levels, and then others will say overall it's better for what kids need at each grade level. So obviously this is a cafeteria. One of the benefits, one of the things we hear from Van Buren teachers is that the cafeteria is tiny. Their cafeteria is also connected to their academic spaces. So you can hear, if you can imagine, we run 6 lunches. Our first 6th grade lunch starts at 10:42 and the last 8th grade lunch ends at 2:08. That is the majority of their academic day, and they can just hear kids going at it.
Can y'all speak up? Because
Yeah.
the library at Van Buren is right above the cafeteria.
Which makes no sense.
Which makes no sense, and it really is not used much in the middle of the day because teachers know that it's just going to distract kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is
I
the
mean,
benefit.
It does get used, but they kind of shy away from it.
Yeah. The benefit of this standalone building is it's completely separate. If there are academic times happening in the buildings, this grade level is not impacted by it. One of the limitations And I want to continue to say, our kids are trained, like it's a well-oiled machine. They walk in these doors the way we did, and they immediately split to the side, and you have one line going that way, and they walk along the wall. They don't even come in and like weave. They walk in unless you packed a lunch. Yep. And then you have a seat. So then there's a line this way. But one of the limitations for a larger group is oftentimes kids are standing in a nice line for quite a while waiting to get their lunch. We have a line here and a line here where it says enter. They're serving the same thing on both sides, and students are just waiting to go up, and then obviously their point of sale. Ideally, what you see, as he pointed out, in a lot of these newer facilities is there are multiple points of sales. There are different options for students. You might have a taco bar, a pizza bar, and students can go up, punch in their number, get the food. You have something in the center, more of a food court type thing. And then more flexible seating. Again, middle school students are growing. I had a student in 7th grade last year. He was a 7th grader last year. He's over 300 pounds. Like, these seats are not ideal for every single student. Obviously, handicap accessible. Yes, you can pull up a wheelchair, but we want spaces that are flexible for students where they have options for seating. Some students really don't love a larger environment like this and want access to a more sensory friendly location to eat. It's one of the things that I feel like my son would prefer. We do have a smaller room over there where students who prefer, we will open that up, and there are 3 small tables in there, and students can eat in there, obviously supervised. But ideally, all of our students would have access to some flex seating. The current tables, like if you counted seats right now, there are about 320 seats in here. We operate lunch right now with about 160 kids is the max per lunch. With our new combined middle school, we will have about 250 kids in each lunch, but we'll continue to run on the same schedule. We do. Yep. Those 2 open doors where it says fuel your mind are our restrooms. Okay. So it is nice to have restrooms on site in here with multiple stalls in each one. And again, students, they stay seated. They're not going up. They'll just raise their hand. We give them a wave on, Dave knows, and then they go to the bathroom, or they, if they need seconds in line, they throw their hand up. We wave them on so that we can monitor the number of students in the bathroom at a time.
And did you have assigned seats the first few days?
We do not.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Okay. My kids said you did, and I was like, what?
Well, maybe 6th grade.
Okay.
Might do a little bit.
Seats, but they rotate like usually every 4 weeks.
Yeah, we don't. Did your student go to Van Buren?
No, he's here.
Okay.
We're here at 6th grade.
Okay. So yeah, it's kind of nice.
And then you said there's 2 lines that run?
There are, yes.
And my kids are super picky, so having more options for lunch would be great. My daughter actually hates pizza now because they have pizza so much.
It's so good though. It's wood fired, right? So this is our last stop before we go back upstairs. Is our library. Ideally, in a new facility, more of a media center. Right now, it functions just like what it's called, a library. Primarily book space, sit, read. Not a lot of kids love that. Ideally, we'd have more opportunities for virtual learning, for interactive, like VR sections, and more collaborative spaces for teachers and students. But it is a very nice space. Teachers will reserve the library on certain days and bring their classes down to do lessons, sometimes just to get a different environment. They don't have access to additional technology in here that they don't have in their classrooms, but it does provide a different space if you want to give students an opportunity to connect in a different way.
I can't get my kids to read, so I thank you guys for having a library, and they both are forced to read, so that's great.
Good.
They just don't like me getting books from the library now because they're like, we have books and things. I'm like, but I still want you to learn things.
I know the Q&A is really important, so the panel said they're good, they're going to be here, and so we usually typically in the forums we make sure we carve out about 20 minutes for the Q&A. The QR code is here on the screen. You can use the QR code if that frustrates you. Carrie Basson can provide you an index card and write that, and Sue here will type those in for you. We keep this document, so this also helps us archive the questions and can frame our work moving forward. I also recognize that some people, this isn't necessarily the format that maybe you are looking for this evening. You want more dialogue, you want to have more conversation, maybe something specific. And for that I say, reach out to me, email me, call me. We will get you connected, whether it's myself or the treasurer or Jeff, or even a board member. So we will begin. We'll get started here. First question is, what percentage of the district's budget goes toward salaries and benefits? Mr. Blevins, you want to take that one?
Yes. Is my mic on? Okay. 84% of the budget goes towards personnel costs for salaries and benefits.
All right. Are plans being made for the middle school permanently remaining at KMS if the levy does not pass?
I'll give it a shot, and then Jeff, if you want to anything further. This building is designed for 1,900 kids, and we have 1,600 middle school students right now. And so the plan is, this is the middle school, and if and when we're able to pass a bond issue, then we'll build a new middle school. But that is the plan, that this is the new middle school for our middle school students.
I was making sure, Jeff, we're good. Yeah, okay. If voters do not approve the bond issue in 2026, would Kettering City Schools likely be eligible for OFCC funding in future cycles, 5 years or 10 years later? Mike?
Yes, so the school will be participating in what's called the Expedited Local Partnership Plan, the ELPP program. And if it were not successful in May, you could go back on the ballot at a future date and still be eligible for your state credit. However, I will say that your projected state credit is 43% of the base plan. When you pass your bond issue, you lock that 43% in. So the question is, what could happen in the future? Could the split change? The split will change every year, just don't know whether it's up or down. So there's some risk if the project weren't to be successful and you didn't lock in your 43%, that there could be a future change against you on that percentage that you'd have to deal with.
How many students will be in each grade in the new combined middle school?
So it varies a little bit from grade to grade, but roughly 550 students. I think one of our incoming classes is about 530. I think one is about 560. So it always fluctuates year to year, but I would say an average of 540, 530, right around there.
So Jeff, I know you've talked about this before in the parent forums. You want to talk a little bit about what we've calculated in and from kindergarten and those grade level bands over the next probably?
Yeah, our enrollment, we did enrollment projections moving forward. So I think our max moving forward to 2030 was about 1,664 students max. So kind of take that average right there. But in the next 5 years, we're looking at about 1,600 students coming up.
Thank you. Are there plans to add soundproofing in the cafeteria to keep the decibel levels acceptable with the extra students?
Yeah, we've looked at that. So there are some sound panels at Van Buren, which is even a smaller cafeteria. So we're going to look at repurposing some of those sound panels, and then if needed, add some extras in there with the additional students.
All right. Can the lockers be removed in Kettering Middle School to make more usable space?
I feel like Dan asked this question. Yeah, go ahead.
Whoever asked that question, great question. There may be an opportunity to remove lockers. That's one of the things that you see in new buildings. Students just don't use lockers anymore. I think about 5 to 10% of students in new buildings use lockers. And so we would love to pull those lockers out of the locker bays and repurpose that space. That's something financially we're looking at, how much that would cost, but whoever asked that, I love your thinking.
And so also, and I was kind of rereading ahead, so if you already said this, pardon me for repeating, but we would ensure to make sure that there are students that definitely still kind of individualized want and need to use those locker spaces, so we will make sure that's available wherever we land in that decision. Will the existing elementary schools be rebuilt or renovated?
I'll take that. So with the OFCC, the assessment, it was determined that all of our schools would be rebuilt except for Greenmont. It's our newest building, I think 22 years old at this point, but yes, all the other elementaries we're looking to rebuild down to four new ones.
Mr. Martin said as people retire, the district will right-size the staff going forward. Why not right-size it now and ease the burden on taxpayers?
I'll take that one. We do that every year. Every year we look at our current staffing, we look at our class sizes, we look at our enrollment. We don't publicize that necessarily, but every year we have made reductions in staff where we can. And so we take that very seriously. That's part of our mission statement. We do that each and every year. We're going to continue to do that each and every year. We are right-sizing our staff each and every year.
This is very similar, but just so that we make sure we emphasize and answer this with clarity. If you reduce buildings from 12 to 7, why isn't the staff being reduced?
I think, again, it's the number of students that we have enrolled and the number of staff that we need to teach those students. And so there are some efficiencies. We're going to realize some efficiencies when we merge. Those efficiencies will be done through attrition. And so when folks retire, we evaluate every single position to make sure that it's needed, to make sure that our taxpayers' burden is as low as it possibly can be. But that's something that we have done in my time in teaching and learning. We've done that each and every year to make sure that we have fully staffed. So we want our kids to have good class sizes so they can learn and have good opportunities, but we want to reduce where we can and make smart decisions.
And if I just want to add to that, because we talked about that being an earlier commitment, and this comes up quite a bit. To gain some cost efficiencies, again, attrition is the key. So doesn't necessarily mean every position will remain, but through attrition, we will capture some savings operationally when you can bring your staff together. It is a priority and commitment from this district to protect the high quality programs. Our middle school programming is phenomenal. We really went through and added some elective opportunities for them. They can gain high school credit while attending middle school. We want to continue to protect those things. Something recently that has happened, the state has required that school districts or middle schools can no longer waive to having career tech opportunities at the middle school level. So a lot of districts waive that because it's a little bit more costly. We are in a great situation because we don't have to waive it. We haven't been waiving. We don't have to do anything different because we have some really robust programming already involved at our middle school. So I just want to say, as a superintendent and our team, and we're still very committed to protecting the programming and protecting those class sizes that have worked really well. We've done a lot of research in terms of what is reasonable class sizes for the particular course that you're in, the developmental age that you're at, the grade level. We work closely with our teacher union on those, and we will continue to do that moving forward. Mr. Martin, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I wanted to add a point because when I heard that question, there's a point of distinction I think it stood out for me in regards to it's projecting for the future. So that wasn't we're conflating two things in my mind. It's a middle school situation today, but the statement was all districts, if we're going to consolidate from 12 to 7, why aren't we eliminating staff? We're not there. This is a two-pronged approach. Segment 1, segment 2, it would be over time, we would right-size the district, looking at programs and doing all that. So I want to make sure we're being very clear that question kind of projected forward, and it's a phased approach. So if we're talking middle school, we're doing things, and we can house all staff and students, and then the forward project going forward with segment 2 and whatnot, as we look at the other facilities, then we would continue to right-size the district as far as head count and comparing programs. So I just wanted to not split hairs, but make sure we account for that distinction, because the question kind of it conflated two things in my mind.
In the infrastructure assessment, $70 million is needed in critical, essential, emerging repairs and replacements at KMS. Will those repairs be made under the proposed plan?
That $70 million, I believe, is a total renovation of KMS. Not only would that be roofs, HVAC, but that would be a lot of cosmetic things also. So we will maintain the buildings as needed. Our roofs are around 10 years old. But we'll keep an eye on our HVAC, our boilers, our chillers. I think those are around 25 years old. So unfortunately, just a lot of cosmetic things won't get done. But yeah, I think that $70 million was for total renovation of furniture, cosmetically, and everything for the building. So.
Why didn't the middle schools consolidate years ago? The district could have invested operational costs and salaries into a new school without an excessive levy.
You want me to take that one? I'll try. So from my vantage point, I'll speak from the time in which I joined the board. Of course, you always had the opportunity, let's be truthful, you always had the opportunity to consider consolidation. What precipitated this is we started to look at having the audit done by the OFCC, and as you get that data back, you start realizing what's happening in your district, and you're going, okay, now we have independent counsel and opinions on the structure of the buildings, our head count, projections going forward, because we got state data on, head count, student body population going forward. And so we can go back in time and say, why didn't we do it? We can litigate that all day long and try and investigate why prior board members may not have moved the district in that direction. What we're saying is, here's what we're doing going forward. So we have to be forward-looking. We can look back and we can talk about the investments that could have been saved. That's past leadership's discretion. Now we're talking about current state, looking forward in the future of what we need to do. So, and it's just a challenge on when is the right time to present that. You have some support as far as consolidation of resources. We could have done that in the past. We could have did that 15 years ago. But I wasn't in this place. Other board members weren't in this seat. Mindy wasn't here. Some of the staff weren't in the positions that they're holding. So as we come together and to evaluate things going forward, you make the tough decisions at the time in which you're charged with it. So that's how I see it.
Question, you keep referencing the required class sizes. Is keeping those larger class sizes really what's most beneficial for our students? I would just want to acknowledge that question being there, and I'll go ahead and just respond to that. We have addressed that we're not increasing class sizes. We will continue to maintain the equitable class sizes that we currently have and feel confident that we can do so. Will the KMS property eventually be sold after a new middle school is built?
No, we're going to maintain the property. In our master plan, facilities plan, we're looking to bring some of our fields over here, our baseball field or softball field. So future use, we could see some kind of athletic complex and buildings over here also. So we'll keep this property.
Jeff, if I could jump in, we didn't address this a lot this time. We have in previous forums when Mike shared the plan where the new middle school would go. That is where our current baseball field, softball field, some of our athletic fields go. Those need to go somewhere, and the plan is to have those come here because we'd be displacing our current athletic fields for the middle school.
All right, there will likely need to be more busing of students who previously would attend Van Buren. How are you planning for the added cost?
So we've been working with our transportation department, and we've actually ran some mock schedules for all the students who will be eligible for transportation to KMS with the merger. And it came out that we will not have to add any bus drivers or buses. By combining and bringing everybody here to one location, that's helped us be more efficient and get the students. And I believe our average bus ride will be around 23 minutes for the students. So.
You said our schools are great because of the people, not the buildings. The buildings have not stopped you from building a vibrant staff. I love that they made sure that was in there because we do have a vibrant staff. So why spend $350 million?
I can answer. We do have a great staff, not only our teaching staff, but we also have a great, our maintenance team, our custodial team, who has maintained these buildings for over 60, 70 years. So at this point, though, looking at the master planning and with the OFCC, our buildings are in need of replacement. But what I mean by that is our roofs, a lot of our HVAC, a lot of these critical needs that need replaced. So again, with OFCC, partnering with them, it's a great opportunity to look at new buildings and take this aging infrastructure that we have.
I'd love to address that too. First, I want to give a huge thank you to our community back in the 40s and 50s who invested in this community and built some really dynamic, cutting-edge school buildings for our community, which has been a bedrock of this community. It used to be good schools, good community. It's great schools, great community. Schools are one of the reasons Kettering is a great community. But that was 70 years ago. That was a long time ago. Education has changed a lot in the last 70 years. When you look at our neighbors like West Carrollton and Fairborn, when you look at other districts in Ohio that truly have some innovative learning environments that their students get to enjoy and their teachers get to work in, that will attract great teachers, great families, and continue to allow our community to be a great community. And so I want to go back again. In the 1940s, our community invested in our schools, and that was 70 years ago. These buildings are old and they're not designed for education today.
I'm also going to add, from a superintendent perspective on that, again, we need to invest some significant funds in our building. We have an opportunity to share that burden with the state. We don't, there's a non-action option that doesn't exist because we're going to have to invest in these significant things over the next 10 years because a 77-year-old building is going to be an 88-year-old building. 63, you see that pattern. We don't have the funding sources come in, it is outpacing it. So when that happens, we have to go into more your general fund, which is your operational, which is keeping your vibrant staff employed here, the programs running. It changes significantly that 5-year forecast that our treasurer provides to our Board of Education and our community. And so just from a strict funding source, we are in a situation where it's not sustainable. So oftentimes you have to invest up front to save in the future in these new buildings. And following the experts of what the OFCC has come in is a great blueprint for us with the community help moving it forward. So we believe that this is absolutely the best plan that we can put forward to our community, and we'll continue to inform that as we go on over the next several months. So just really from a financial, operational standpoint, this is to protect the longevity and make sure that it's built so that at some point we have a community and other people that are going to say this community 60 some years ago made some really tough decisions and it has helped elevate us and keep us a vibrant community and school system for the next 60, 70 years. What percentage of teaching staff retires each year? And how long until you reach right size staffing?
I'm going to struggle with giving you a percent, but I can give you a number. It fluctuates quite a bit. The least number that I can remember in the past 8 years is about 10. We've had up to 40 teachers retire in a year. That kind of fluctuates on when they were hired. We're really fortunate. Teachers that start in Kettering, unless there's a life-changing event, stay in Kettering. They love working here. As far as right-sizing staff, I addressed this earlier. We're fairly right-sized in staff with our current building and student population. Every single year that we do staffing and people retire, we look at those positions to make sure that they're needed. Now, when you merge buildings, there are some efficiencies there. I'll give you an example. At our elementary buildings, Greenmount Elementary is one of our smaller. If you have 58 kids in a class, that could be 2 sections where you would have over 25, about 28 kids per class, or that could be 3 sections where you'd have in the teens for class size. And so you have to make some decisions. 28 students in an elementary classroom is pretty high. 16 students in an elementary classroom is pretty low. So when you have bigger elementary schools, that math gets a lot easier and you can have more consistent class size. So going from 8 elementaries down to 5 would help us with consistent class size. It would give us the opportunity to right size some staff. But right now with our buildings the way they are, we look at that every single year and make good decisions on being appropriately staffed. When we merge our middle schools, that math changes a little bit. We have more teachers, more sections, so there are some efficiencies there that we could not replace through attrition. But I want to say again, every year we look at our staff, we look at our student population, and we make sure that we're appropriately staffed.
How will the current middle school students take advanced classes at the high school if a new middle school isn't built?
Well, the same way they do now. And so we have about 140 8th graders that take high school classes. We bus them. They start their day out at Fairmont High School, and then we bus them back to their middle school. So currently, we have buses that go to Van Buren and Kettering Middle School. Next year, we would just have buses that go from Fairmont to Kettering Middle School. So our 8th grade students would still have the opportunity to take advanced classes at Fairmont.
In the rebuild of the elementary schools, will the new additions that we just built onto the existing schools be salvaged? I don't know if Jeff, Mike, anybody want to chime in on that? Okay.
Well, so with the OFCC assessment, we know that the existing buildings, except for Greenmont, are to be demolished and rebuild new schools. That's in segment 2 of our plan, which is about 5 years from now. So I think at that point, we would engage a steering committee to look at that, engage UFCC and get their thoughts on that. They wouldn't fund that, I don't believe. So that would have to look at something as a locally funded if we wanted to try to keep some of that existing gyms and parts of the building.
Have you considered putting together a parent panel so you are able to truly capture the concerns of the students within the schools?
So we do have a committee. We're working right now on finalizing that committee. It's called the Better Together Committee, where parents are serving on that committee, students are serving on that committee, staff members are serving on that committee to get feedback on decisions that we're making or ideas on how to make this a successful transition to middle school. And so that's a very good idea. That's something that we're actively doing. Literally right now, we worked on that committee today.
School enrollment has shrunk. How is raising taxes going to attract more people to move here? school enrollment has shrunk. How is raising taxes going to attract more people to move here?
That's an interesting question. So I don't know that. That's an interesting question, and honestly, it's my answer or my response is twofold. The goal here is not to raise taxes. The goal here is to consolidate, innovate, and build new schools. What comes with that is a cost share, because of how the state of Ohio challenges schools to raise money, which is through property taxes. So inherently, we can't have two things without the other. We can't have new innovative schools, vibrant schools, protecting our staff and our students without the investment of our taxpayers through their property taxes. So the goal here is not to raise taxes. The goal here is to build new buildings, consolidate, gain efficiencies, become a 21st century district, not a 1970s, 1940s district. So I'm not being flippant here in my response. It's just a part of doing business in education in the state of Ohio. If we have challenge or issues with that, I think we then need to talk to the State House and look at the ways in which we generate revenue for school districts. So that's just my response in that regard, and hopefully I'm not stepping on any toes or offending anyone, but it's just a fact. Our goal is not to raise taxes. It's a symptom or a result of the symptom, which is how we go about funding schools, building schools, innovating schools, renovating schools, and all the above.
If I could just, to be factually accurate, our enrollment is pretty consistent. It's been pretty consistent. The projections over the next 10 years, we're not having a dramatic decline in students. It's pretty consistent over the next 10 years. And another way to look at that is keeping the great families that we have in Kettering, staying in Kettering, because they're excited about their schools and their school buildings and their teachers. And so keeping what we have, being innovative, and making sure our buildings are the right size for our current student population.
All right, we're going to take 2 more questions as we near almost 8 o'clock. What is the $4.2 million revenue every year from the 2016 facilities levy being used for?
Good question. So 2002, there was a bond, which did a lot of the infrastructure. 2016, there's a permanent improvement to help alleviate some of the projects that we need to do out there. Back then, 2016-ish, 17, we leveraged some of that PI to do some much needed projects around the district. When we have to pay that back, basically. So we currently have about $2 million every year. Out of that $2 million, we look at athletics, buildings and grounds, IT, our teaching and learning, and our buses, vehicles all come out of that. So it does get stretched very thin when you look at all those pieces that need to come out of that. So.
And Mr. Blevins, is there anything that you want to add in terms of how that funding and where it's coming from now to offset?
Yeah, absolutely. So what Jeff's referring to are capital dollars, and these long-term, long-lasting roofs, HVAC systems that we use that $2 million to address. It's not enough. If you remember back when we were presenting earlier, the slide that showed our estimated cost for Van Buren just in the next 1 to 5 years was $2.8 million, and so Jeff discussed we have $2 million. So what we've done is we've been supplementing that from our general fund. Now, these two funds are separate, and the general fund goes towards paying salaries, or a good way to think about it is teachers' tires and textbooks, so the day-to-day funding of the school district. And what we've been doing is supplementing that $2 million that we have in capital funds with general fund dollars. Now in 2022, this was roughly $88,000. That jumped up in 24 to, I want to say, close to $500,000. And then we're on track this year for that to be over $1 million. So you can see that as the buildings have continued to age, the set funds that we have to address the issues that we're seeing with our aging buildings, the money that we're pulling from our operating funds to fund that is continuing to grow. And there's kind of no end in sight in that as costs continue to escalate and as the buildings continue to age. So we would hope to stop the bleeding, I guess, is a good way to put that.
All right. Will the hours still be 9 a.m. to 3:50?
That's the plan, that the student schedule would be the same hours, same class periods, the exact same overall schedule that our students have this year.
And final question, how were parents selected for the Better Together committee?
A number of different ways. Some recommendation from the buildings, some parents that are involved in parent-teacher organizations, things like that. We have some parents that heard about this and that are attending events like this that reached out and contacted us and said they'd like to be a part of it. And so all of those different ways, we want to make sure we have a great cross-section. We want to make sure that we have different ideas. And so all of those ways, parents have gotten on that committee.
And we're certainly trying to make sure that we balance voice from current Van Buren Middle School parents as well as voice from KMS parents as well. But I know Mark Martin had shared at the board meeting last night is if you are interested and you would like to engage and participate, please email me, call me, or Dan, and we'll recruit you and have you be a part of it and put you to work.
Hey, Mindy, before we close, I just wanted to touch on one thing. The earlier question, it projected or talked about, should we not move forward with should the citizens not move forward with a bond levy, and would dollars and this opportunity from the state share be available in years to come? And Mr. Richley responded accordingly. But one thing I want to add is, in response to that we didn't touch on, is we have our continued maintenance that has to continue to occur. So we will continue to see costs associated with the upkeep going forward of these buildings. So I think it's important that when we're talking about being fiscally responsible, we have to continue to keep these buildings safe, warm, and dry. And there are significant costs associated with that. One being what Mr. Johnson shared earlier, as far as Van Buren, we're looking at upwards of $2.8 million that will fold onto the district that can come out of the general fund that also erodes our ability to educate. So I appreciate everyone's time and, thank you for this, but this isn't something that we take on lightly. This is serious for us. It's serious for our community. We definitely appreciate all the feedback, the questions, concerns, because they matter. But in the end, our future is what matters the most, and what we want Kettering to look like and what we want Kettering to be.
Those are great words to wrap up the evening. You, again, sacrificing your time to engage, become informed, help us. The questions you provide help guide and direct us. And so thank you. Thank you for staying over half an hour longer than normally planned. And again, enjoy the Thanksgiving holiday and time with family and friends, and have a safe evening.